All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live here with Ask Christian Anarchist number 59. One more to go before we get to number 60. Yeah, this is it. All right, enough of that nonsense. This is the boy, Christian Anarchist, here, coming at you. Oh, hang on a second. Now my YouTube playback is playing back mirrors. I'm hearing myself. I'm going crazy, that means. Anyways, so yes, as I was saying, welcome to Ask Christian Anarchist. And here we just like to be chill and hopefully get things going. Now then, I will say this, we're just going to go ahead, get the format out the way, since I see at least when I was looking, 5 people were waiting, so I don't know if 5 people are watching this. Okay, 6 are now watching. Okay, well, that's definitely a jump in the numbers. So let me go ahead and pull up, let me find it real quickly. Galatata. Okay, how to question. So this is that's the folder I name it for whenever trying to look up for people who want to learn how to ask a question on here, because there's multiple ways besides that live chat that you're watching on from the YouTube live stream. That is number 1, by the way. So you want to ask a question via there, feel free to do so. You want to ask on Twitter, go to your Twitter, find me, or follow my Twitter or whatnot, you know, whatever helps it easier for you to do the tagging in for the, what are those things? User names, user tags? I don't know. I heard they've been called something else besides usernames. Anyways, tag that in along with the hashtag AskCA, and I can get your questions via Twitter. Then, of course, you can ask for the link if you want to come in here via Skype. Just add me on Skype. That is my Skype username right there. And it also allows me to check and see whether or not if you're a troll, and whether or not if you're new. So that way I can investigate your profile. So that helps out with that. So you'll probably be asked, you know, questions like, give me the link to the Google Plus page of yours. That way I can see it, because you need a Google Plus page or a Google Plus account to even get in here in the first place. So that's one thing. And you see Christian 96 is in the chat. Say, how you doing? Good evening, brother. Then, of course, there's a Discord server. You got the Discord server right there in the link. It's at the very bottom, Discord for Ask CA questions and off air. So you can ask your questions there. There'll be a section that says show questions only. So as soon as you go there, boom, all done and taken care of according to business, of course. Anyways, that being said, what can I do? Oh, yes, that's right. So if y'all have any questions, feel free to send them, because right now we don't have, well, yeah, we do actually. But before we do get to those questions, which we have them on Discord, that's where we have a few questions right now. Let me just, while y'all are having time to send in your questions in the live chat and elsewhere, let me also, while I'm at it, get some people on here. So while I'm doing that, I'll just say this. So I'm sure some of y'all might be familiar, if y'all have seen my content before, that I have engaged with a individual who goes by the name of Jamal Williams. Now, Jamal is a very interesting man, to say the least. And, oof, hang on a second, just trying to get myself there. He very much, in what I am going to legitimately call is a form of legalism, is that what he teaches. That he'll be pretty much be like what the Roman Catholics say, is like, oh no, we're not teaching works-based salvation. When if you examine closely at the fruits, that is exactly what this guy does. So and especially when he promotes people like Jesse Morrell and Brother Jed, which of course, you know, if he's promoting Jesse Morrell, and he's doing that by association, because that's pretty much the kind of style that he goes after, and pretty much the same thing basically is Brother Jed and Jesse Morrell. So we got into a conversation about some video that he posted on his YouTube channel about Christian hip hop being demonic, or just hip hop in general. And so then it got to the conversation, yeah, secular hip hop is bad for Christians to try to get involved in. So that's why it's Christian hip hop. It's like, no, Christian hip hop is just as wrong. I'm like, okay, why? It's the beats that are just as detrimental to the Christian, because apparently it's got some kind of harming effect or something like that. So we keep going and talking. And at one point in the conversation, we get something about going over the usage of drums in the Bible. He claims that there is not a single bit of a drum in the Bible. And if you look, there is actually a Psalm chapter 150, verse 4. It says to sing and praise with drums, or the word toph in the Hebrew. And I looked in the Hebrew lexicons and such, and it usually have it translated as a timbrel. But there are translations that note that, and if you just look at the word toph, there's actually even places themselves that have, like, they call this, this is a toph. It's an ancient instrument. And it's basically like the small, like, beating drum that you hold in your lap. So that's what a toph is. But if you want to go with another form, which is, if you want to go with the translation for it being the timbrel, then let's try that. Let's take a look at what a timbrel looks like. All right. So I'm going to show you. Oh, wait. I just realized I kept having that thing on. Well, at least it shows. If y'all need to know how to ask questions, there you go. Let me go over here. So right there, you can see that that's a timbrel. Looks like a bit of a, little, what's it, tambourine, but that's got that skin on there that helps with the banging and banging. And he claims, oh, that's not a drum. That's the main sound you hear is the cymbals. Now, I actually took a look at a video. There was a demonstration called Simple Tambourine and Timbrel Covered with Goat Skin. And it gives a demonstration of how it is played. And the guy is basically hitting it against the bottom palm of his hand. Now, I want you to listen closely, because this is what I was listening to earlier. All right. So he's hitting it against the palm of his hand. Now listen closely. So you can obviously still hear the cymbals and the little metallic ringing, but also notice there's a rhythm, and it's not from the or whatever, however the sound you make for those little things. It's also the same kind of thing I can make with that. You hear a percussion that counts and constitutes as a drum. That's why it is constituted as a frame drum. So the Bible does have messaging and usage of drums in the Bible. We see this in the use of the Psalms, and it tells people to praise and to worship in that. Now, the early church, of course, didn't do that, but there's nothing that condemns it, because there were times where it was permissible for people then. And then he could say, well, there wasn't a large drum like we have today. It's irrelevant. There is many things that we have today that they don't have. But we're not making any distinctions on that, are we? Now then, Christian Man says, it's the evil waves, man. Yes, it's those nasty, dirty waves, my friend. Yes, it is. Curse those evil waves of music there is. Anyways. I even added Christian Man, so if you want to join in Christian Man, then you can check your Hangouts and go there. I just realized also that I forgot to turn on the oh, come on, I have way too many tabs open right now. I forgot to do the broadcasting things, because just in case somebody comes in that I do make a mistake on, I don't want there to be any porn bombing, trolling, or sniping. So want to make sure everything gets constituted perfectly. All right. So that being said, let's do this. All right. Hey, Christian Man, how are you doing?
I am doing fine, comrade.
Doing good, comrade. I don't know what I just said.
What the gibberish was that?
New wave. That's what. Speaking of which, I'm sending Jamal to the link to this. By the way, let's see if he actually shows up because he's always welcome to join anytime he wishes. So I'm gonna go ahead and because he's wanting me to ask this of people, especially the audience. So basically, I'm asking you a question before I get to the questions from other people.
Okay.
So let me just scroll back and see what exactly it was that he was wanting. So I said I would ask. Did you see the instrument that I pulled up earlier?
Yeah.
Is that now what you say? But without me having to say it, would you have said that was a drum if I hadn't said anything?
Yeah. Or it was a tambourine of some sort, which, well, technically a drum. All it is a goat skin wrapped around a drum and it's banged. So.
Yeah, pretty much. So. Yeah, you would have seen that as a drum without me having to tell you. Hey, AJ. And she's gone silent now. Now I feel like I did something. Dang it.
Sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. Would you prefer AJ or would you prefer the Luna?
AJ's fine.
Okay. By the way, still nice hat or head or whatever. Dang it, I'm messing up tonight.
Thank you. She cost a lot,
but
it was really worth it. Handmade and everything.
I'd imagine those things would cost a lot, and especially the crafting that went into that. For those who don't know, that AJ here's got one of those furry partial heads. And it looks very nice. I believe it's represented basically after one of the cats from Sailor Moon. So very nice. And so, yep. And now if I can find it later, I mean, you'll be okay with me showing a picture of that later on?
Yeah, that'd be okay.
All right. So I was trying to ask and I guess since you're here, I'll ask you a question too, the same question. So apparently Jamal wanted me to ask the following question, and I'll start with you, Christian, man. He told me to ask the audience on the show if they think it would be okay to have a Christian punk or rock or rap service or rap music in a Sunday service. That not just a special event that occasionally can happen. That the church can hold. But I'm talking like if you go to church on a Sunday, you're there for the Sunday worship service, would you allow or prefer Christian punk or rap music versus the traditional just either singing the hymn via piano or maybe the occasional acoustic kind of guitar-y kind of sound? Like what's your response to that, Christian man?
I don't care. I go to a church that does a lot of rock music, so.
Right, but when you say the rock music, it's not like hard rock, right?
By hard rock, what do you mean like hard rock? Like heavy metal? No,
let me put it this way: are we talking Slipknot, Metallica, and Fuel kind of hard rock, or are we talking like sort of the soft acoustic type of thing, but you could still hear
more of a Led Zeppelin? I guess you can say more of a Led Zeppelin.
Okay, that is a church you gotta have to introduce me to, because that's something that's completely new to me.
Well, not really a Led Zeppelin, but just the sound, something of that nature.
So, I'm assuming regular Led Zeppelin or the Stairway to Heaven version.
I just meant that as more like a pejorative. It's not it needs to be accurate, but just something I can think of the top of my head that's similar.
Mm-hmm. All right.
So, not really Led Zeppelin, but more of a. There actually was one. Well, that's a different story for another day, but.
Right. So, AJ, what about you?
I think it's fine. I mean, we can worship God in a lot of ways. So.
Right.
What's with a little bit of rap and rock music? It's not going to hurt anybody.
Right. So, and here's my take on the whole thing. What I think it's fine for if you're doing it outside of a specific Sunday service, but I think for Sunday, you know, keep what in a sense like what we went back then with the tradition and how the order went. We gather, we fellowship. In fact, if you want to get even more traditional, like listen to the Byzantine, Gregorian, and even the Coptic chants. That's pretty much how they did it. There was no instruments. It was simply being able to sing in the native language they had. Oh, sorry.
Hey, so all piano music is evil. We should go back into hymns. You know what?
That's what I've tried asking one time, but he said no because it's soothing and science reports shows that it's benefited, but that doesn't matter. They didn't have pianos at that time, so
I said we should go back to Gregorian chants. We should go back to that.
That's what I've asked, and of course he says no to that. That being said,
but wait a minute. So he's shifting the goalpost then?
Pretty much. I think he just shifts the goalpost and is inconsistent and just makes it just whenever it's convenient to him, makes up his facts. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I think for church service, just keep it in a traditional sense, but you can allow variations where, you know, as long as the music is gentle and still is able to reach the tune of the tones that, say, if you have the hymnals or anything else that's written down that has, you know, traditionally where you hit the notes at, that's good. But rap is not something that they did back then. And I'm not sure how much the rock would be in terms of trying to get all the people. That's what the main thing is, trying to make sure that everyone's there and they're able to enjoy it. That's why I usually say, you know, so a bit of a country or soft rock kind of thing can do it that way. It's, you know, just simply the guitar and such. You don't even need drums for that, by the way, also. But also if you want to have something like maybe Saturday, get some kids together and they invite some band that's a worship band or a worship group that's a rap group, then that's fine too. But the issue is that it's a worshiping and a praising that's not necessarily in the Sunday hymnal thing. That's just my take on it. So, and it's just mostly because of what tradition is. So, yeah. But of course, this is the one problem with Jamal Williams is that, and as he's already in the live chat trying to get in the flesh and act carnal right now, says CA is inconsistent. He doesn't want Christian punk church or in church services because of tradition, but he's okay with the drum set use, which wasn't part of tradition. Again, I don't mind because it's not a requirement of what instruments you use for the church service, since there was actually no instruments used. So by that standard of tradition, then let's just cancel it all out. Paul says in Corinthians that all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. So if some churches don't benefit from one thing, then don't do it. So Romans 14, for example, there were people that were able to eat vegetables. They were part of this trying to be following the judicial diet and abstain from meats. But there were some that were eating it, but they were offending some that were still clinging to some of the traditions. So Paul says, if you have somebody that's near you that is offended by this and it could stumble their faith, for their sake, don't eat that in front of them. Otherwise, you'd be a stumbling block. So it's basically saying you have some common courtesy for people. So if there happens to be a church that I still wouldn't say go with the rap thing just because I'm still that old school traditional, but if some church can do some kind of bit of a little rocking thing involved, then I wouldn't mind, as long as the entire church is okay. If there is uncomfortability in that, then for the sake of the church and for the sake of your brethren, try not to engage in that. But of course, let me see what else he's just said. Lol, hateful. Why am I so discerning? You mean? Yeah, discernment is something that I've been praying to God for you to obtain, my friend. Because I am a mature Christian. Sir, if you are a mature Christian, you would condemn Jesse Morrell. You wouldn't say that someone that you even admitted was in a false doctrine with denying the Trinity, yet you claim he's born again. By that, I'm referring to Chris LaSala. So you claim he's born again, even though he denies the Trinity, which means he denies the true God. He denies God. That refer to and promote Jesse Morel just because of his testimony, even though he promotes sinless perfectionism and legalism, that is not the signs of a mature Christian. That is the sign and the fruits of someone who really needs to mature more. That's someone that is immature. So, Jamal, you claim that you're mature, but when your actions and your promotions speak otherwise, that's a problem. And again, if you want to come in here and discuss this, I've given you the link. I've given you this several minutes ago. So you are more than invited. But every time I've done it, I know that you haven't shown up, and there's a good reason why, I imagine. Because that you are not willing to discuss these, especially over the Bible. Because when I've discussed this issue about the music, you keep going to these other sources like what Dr. So-and-so and Lamo says. When I'm going to what the scriptures are as the final authority over what is permissible in the walk of the Christian. So anyways, that rant being done, let's get to the questions, since I said that I was going to get to them and I kind of delayed them off a bit. So first off, we got from Wolves Are Cool. And this one seems like it's a personal one. So what are the signs? By the way, this might be a little bit of an 18+ thing so if y'all are out of that range, then, cover your ears a bit. This is going to be a bit of a sensitive topic. What are the signs that your flesh is going crazy after you stop masturbating? Okay. What are the signs that your flesh is going crazy after you stop? So, that sounds, I find that's, okay, that's a very, I'm not sure how to answer the question, honestly. Flesh going crazy, like in what sense do you mean going crazy? Are you talking to, especially when referring to flesh, you're referring to like the carnal mind and such, or are you referring to actually like, your actual body and talking about a medical condition and such? I'm no medical expert, so I wouldn't be able to tell you about that. But as far as what I have had experience in struggling and battling with the sin of lust over this issue, is that if you stop masturbating, as in if you try to stop going against it, you stop giving into it, a sign that your flesh is going crazy spiritually, because that's apparently just identified it, that the context is about the spiritual force, is that it will make temptations that didn't seem enticing at first seem a lot more enticing. So, for example, the smallest of things could set you off. Anything from just simply now looking at a leg could be an immediate arousal factor. Just anything like that can then make it dangerous for an environment. But that could be like anything. If you try to kick, say, let's say that you stop cold turkey on cigarettes or a certain drug that you're on, because these things can be an addiction, and you're trying to carry on your day, but then you see something out there, and it's either another cigarette or a new cigarette brand that's just opened up, or maybe the drug, or maybe you're having withdrawals from the drugs, and it's causing you to be a temptation, saying these things will go away on one condition: you go back and try to get that. So there are various ways that it tries to get you to draw back into it. So these are the signs that, as far as what I have experienced in my struggle and my wrestling with the flesh, these are the signs that shows that of the flesh going crazy. And the best way to combat this, by the way, is, in my opinion, finding something to occupy yourself. Find something that is what I would call a healthy addiction. So, for example, when I am having struggles, I like to immediately start reading my Bible and start seeing if I can find something and get myself stuck on it, or check out one of the books I got, like on the Bible dictionary or the systematic theology, because then it starts me down a path to investigate certain claims, because it shows Bible verses, and I can start doing my own search, and it keeps me there. Or maybe something that's like a Christian word puzzle, if you will, because I'm going to do a lot of research, and I'm trying to put the pieces together, and it keeps me busy for a while, so that way it won't get me focused on these issues. So yeah. So that's what I would suggest, and that's what I would say. There are some signs of the flesh going crazy if you try to stop things such as masturbation. And I see just a message saying you've been keeping yourself busy, and that's good. Make sure to do that. That helps out a bit. So but here's another thing to keep in mind, though, because I know that a lot of people then start to feel bad if they fall into it again. Remember, you're not saved or redeemed by any works or deeds you've done. Ephesians chapter 2, verses 8 through 9 says, "We are saved by grace through faith, and not of ourselves, it is a gift of God, and not by works, lest we should boast." But however, it does say that in verse 10, we're created as by Christ to do unto good works that have been appointed for us. So the good works aren't a means of salvation, but we should at least strive for them. But if we mess up, 1 John says in chapter 2 that if we ask God for forgiveness, he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins. And that also in that same epistle that we have an advocate with the Father, and we can communicate with him and pray to him for forgiveness, and he will forgive us. So that would be all I would say on that. So thank you for your question there, Wolves, and may you have a blessed day. My goodness, I am getting a lot of messages here on this here chat, so I will have to attend to it after I get these two lovely people in the chat here. So first of all, Christian Man, how are you doing?
Okay. My question is, out of all the cults out there, what cult do you think is the most deceptive?
Ooh, that's a good question. What do I think is the most deceptive of the cults?
I have my answer.
What's your answer?
I'm kind of stuck between Antifa and Scientology, or Scienceology, whatever they call that crap.
Well, that seemed to entertain Christian Man right there.
I wasn't expecting that, but
well, bravo.
Okay, called by heterodoxy.
Let me just say this: a cult that I would say that is deceptive, the most deceptive that I've ever encountered, would have to have, in my opinion, be the Hebrew Israelites, because there are various different groups. So obviously they're going to have a lot of different beliefs, but it's also interesting as to how crazy the deception goes and how they're deceived. For example, there are two doctrines that keep the conversation to ignorance. One is the strong and wrong doctrine. This was something I've heard about from Brother Jay, who was a guy who used to be in the IUIC Hebrew Israelite camp. And he said what they were learning whenever he was in what would basically be called like a training school, was they were taught this doctrine called strong and wrong. Now, I think you may have heard of this one before. Are you familiar with it, Christian Man?
Not too familiar.
All right, so here's what strong and wrong basically is. Like, for example, if you were to come up with me, if I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and you were to come up with something I didn't know or haven't studied up on too much, what they encourage is for you to either go to another scripture and just keep going there and staying on that scripture without going back. And if they do, say, well, you're just ignorant. Now stop and actually deal with the text. Try to make it sound like you're the one that's running away. Or they'll just simply get the entire group, since they always come in like either 5 or 10. And one starts reading a verse or starts saying a chant and gets everybody to join with him. Like, for example, saying, like if someone tries to say, well, what about this verse here that says, the Gentiles also are included and grafted in the plan of salvation? And he just quoting what Jesus is saying, I am sent to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Who does it say? The lost sheep of Israel. Is it the white band? The lost sheep of Israel. And they just keep chanting and will keep doing this as loud as they can until they see you aren't trying to cut them off or talk to them or interfere or try to respond. They want you to basically be quiet and just listen. And that's what they do with strong and wrong. And they're taught to do this. so it's the most deceptive thing I've seen, as well as their interpretation of Proverbs, where it says precept must be upon precept. That must they interpret that to mean the Bible is a unique book, and that you don't read it in context. You take one verse, go to another, and basically look for thematic sounding issues.
Huh?
Yes, and that's what they say. It's like precept must be upon precept, so a verse must be interpreted in light of another verse. So that's what they do. And like if they say something like the one verse that says, Jesus was sent to the lost sheep of Israel, is like, but what about the woman's confession that shows that, that's in the next few verses, that shows that she recognizes that Jesus came for the Jews first, then for the Gentile. And they'll say, no, you don't read it like that. That's like reading pagan literature. You read the Bible like holy literature, and it must be upon precept upon precept. And so that's how they try to get out of reading it in context. So that's the two common things that you can see in some of these groups, especially of the One West. So I think that Hebrew Israelites are the most deceptive of the cults that I have encountered. And especially, like, if you saw my interaction with Arcane Logos about a while back.
See, don't mind if I do a parody of Arcane.
Go ahead. He at this point, it's worth it.
Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screen share shots of Egypt, and look, of Egyptians. Look, some of them are brown. That must mean they're black.
No, that's not that. In order to do an impersonation of Arcane, you got to sound like you're stoned.
Well, okay.
Yeah, okay, man. Like let me show you this. Prove all things, right? So right here, do you see these little paintings and pictures? We're having a
secretly wear tinfoil hats with propellers.
That's the thing. That's what's always interesting about Arcane, is he'll buy into
anything.
He'll say you investigate all these claims, question what they're telling you. Does he question when he reads and learns these things? I don't think he even doubted or tried to question a second whenever he started hearing about this Hebrew Israelite stuff. Like that's how I've seen it. Is like he doesn't just, for us, he tells us to question things, but he doesn't.
Yeah. So one day, CA, he'll achieve peak wokeness.
You're something else. Anyways, thank you for your question there, Christian man. All right, I'll get to y'all in the live chat in a few. So if y'all got a question, I probably won't be able to go over much because I see y'all have been typing quite a lot. So keep sending them in, and I will try to get to them. So AJ, how you doing, girl?
I'm doing good. I got a really cool project going on, not art related, just something really cool.
Nice. Well, everything you do is cool in my opinion, from the furry stuff to well, just about everything else. That's the only thing I could think of right now. I didn't think too much on that, so I am terrible as a host. My goodness. Anyways, but you are an overall average cool person, in my opinion. So that's why I'm going to guess your question will be also as amazing. So, you got a question?
It's not amazing, but what do you think of Christian forum websites? I joined one a couple of months ago. It has the most creative name, Christian Forums. And there's a lot of good people on here. I was thoroughly impressed by how educated some of these people are, and how nice they are, how they ask for prayers openly for things that they need prayers for. It's really nice. But I do know there are other forums that are just drama fests. So what do you think of Christian forums as a whole?
Well, first of all, that was an awesome question. And secondly, that I've been on one of them, though it was actually more of just a neutral type of forum, but Christians were where they mostly resided. And that was debate.org. I was there for quite a bit, but except I was known as Christian Punk at the time. And this was way before YouTube. So when I was doing that, and that was kind of how I was getting my first start on learning how to debate from text, I noticed one thing. You will have some Christians that are, very rational. They can debate, they can, engage in things, they can reason, and they can actually go to the source, they can cite the scriptures, they can be apologists, they can actually discern, they can actually go to the Bible and rely on it, and yet be reasonable to the point where even atheists don't have too much of a problem with them. But you will also see one thing that is common in any Christian forum or just any forum you go to, and that is either the ones that then decide to take up the persona of troll just to troll atheists because they think that all of a sudden is giving them brownie points, or they are legitimately bad Christians with bad theology. This is like, for example, like when I was saying, back when I was like, I don't need to go to church. I can just stay home and read the Bible by myself. It can do it if you don't have someone that can help guide you and you try to appeal to yourself as an authority. That can lead to some bad ideas. And I've met some crazy people online that have held to very weird ideas. Like I debated or had a debate with a King James onlyist guy on Calvinism, and he basically said that the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, that technically they should be counted with the Old Testament because the New Testament doesn't come in until after the death of Christ. And so things then get weird from conversations there. Then there's some people, like I recently saw a video where some guy said that the King James Bible is the inspired word of God, is the perfect word of God. Why? Because it literally flew down from heaven onto earth, already binded up with pages and everything, flew down from heaven, written by God, and put into the hands of the kings and the translators. And this is just some crazy idea. Then you have universalists. I've debated one rational universalist, and at least he actually studied and tried to make a case. One guy claimed to have, I don't know if you ever heard of him. Do you remember Armored Christian whenever he was being a thing on G+?
Mm-hmm.
He was a universalist who claimed to receive direct divine revelation from God, that his interpretation of universalism was true, and that God told him that, yeah, universalism is true. And then of course also gets to parts where like he claimed that I was an atheist and that God told him this. And his way of doing this before he took the video down was he would say, all right, he closes his eyes and is like, okay, God, is Christian Anarchist an atheist? And he just points at a random place in the wall. He's like, see, I just pointed at a smiley face looking design on the wall. So that means, yes, God just admitted CA is an atheist. So you have all kinds of weirdos that will come in. And these are people that, and I guarantee you, if you see someone that is very strange in theology and they're saying things that don't make much sense, ask them if they go to a church. I guarantee you the answer is no. That's why I have tried to, get in touch with G-Man before, because he's mentioned before that he has not been attending a church. Though he's once said he's trying to, but I said, we live in America, and as much as I hate to sound like it, but there are churches pretty much everywhere. It's almost easy to find one. So it's pretty much making an excuse to say, I'm not going to church, because, trying to still look for it when they're pretty much everywhere. You can just drive there on a Sunday and, attend. And it can help out beneficially for learning of scripture, learning and keeping of sound doctrine, and fellowshipping with like-minded brethren. So that's one thing I noticed, is that the forums contain good people, and I encourage some people to still go to these forums so that way they can be the voice of reason. They can be the people who can witness to these people, because forums can be a good way to witness to people and preach the gospel message. Engaging in forums and discussions with people, but also be a representation of showing what the gospel truly is and how a Christian should act, versus what I would say these false internet messiahs that are coming online and trying to portray themselves as Christians, proclaiming themselves as being, founded in sound doctrine when in reality they're not.
Crystal Sala.
Of course, that guy. Yeah. Anyway, so I hope that answered your question a bit.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, thank you for asking it. Like I said, that just like you, that question was awesome. So, thank you very much. And let's. Oh my goodness, why are you people on the live chat harassing me? Oh wait, that's right. This is Ask Christian Anarchist. Anyways, okay. I'm gonna wait a little bit more. It's taking a little earlier if I take my medicine right now. Oh, for goodness sake, I'm trying to check the Twitter because I've got 2 notifications. No, girl, I got Alexia the Rook on Twitter, which, by the way, that's the girl who put me in the dress picture. If y'all didn't see that on Twitter, she thinks she missed it. So I'm just
Dress picture.
Yeah. Remember the what is it? The whole oh my goodness, what was it? I'm having a brain fart here. Whenever I found a bunny rabbit at my house, I posted this on Twitter, and people were saying like, "Look, you're Snow White." And someone said, "Yeah, CA is a new Disney princess," and I'm like, "Haha, yeah, very funny." It's like, and then someone's like, "You know what? I'm gonna draw that," and I'm like, "No, what have I done?" And then the next thing I saw, somebody had that being Alexia Rook. She drew a picture of me, of my persona, that says CA, in a white princess outfit with that bunny being right beside me, and a bubble saying, "I'm the new Disney princess." And I was like, "I'm gonna kill you, woman." But yeah, that was pretty much how that whole thing started. And what's also funny is that, and this is going to be about tomorrow as well. That apparently one of the guys that I LARP with has a girl, and she made or got a dress prepared for that. So they're pretty much saying, "Hey, remember how you were called the Disney princess on Twitter? Well, we found your dress. Now get dressed up."
Ooh.
I'm gonna run away as soon as I see it. I am not putting on that. Never again, Mary Elizabeth. Never. Anyways. All right.
Joke gone too far.
Wait, what?
Joke gone too far.
That's a joke that's gone too far. They tried to put me in a dress. Okay. So, I'm gonna go ahead and say this because Christian 96, the Lutheran of mine. Hey, CA, did you watch the Super Bowl? I only seen parts of it. And I don't know. I think it's a very interesting game, but also, by the way, because I know Christian 96 is a Eagles fan. I appreciate your Eagles because they are definitely not just besides the fact they're very openly devout Christians, but also they managed to make someone look foolish at the very last bit of the game, because all of a sudden, as soon as the catch was no good, even as the ball was down and they're celebrating, one of the Patriots just runs up and does a front flip trying to catch the ball as if it still is going to save them for getting a touchdown. So that was the most amazing thing that's just got them so desperate on that. So, but yeah, it was a very interesting game, and it actually got me to eat those Blaze Doritos that was in one of the Super Bowl commercials. And my goodness, those things are hot. Whew, I would not recommend getting those, people. All right, so let's see here. Bryson Townsend says, how can Romans chapter 15, verses 25 to 26 be reconciled with Ephesians 3, verses 1 through 6? Okay, this is now the time where we pull out the Bible software. So getting computer set up. with the Word Bible software. So let me just, oh, for goodness sake, I'm clicking the wrong tabs. There, screen share. And there we go. Let me just present this to everybody. And let me take a look at the question. Okay, Romans 16, verses 25 through 26. So let's head on over there. And if y'all have Bibles that are watching, y'all can turn there. Or if you don't want to and you just want to read along, hey, that's fine too. It's we're all here as a big, happy family. We're all, aren't we? Anyways, let's go ahead and read on there as I'm in my nice, gentle, calm, soothing voice. Romans chapter 16, verse 25. Now to him who has power to strengthen you according to my gospel and the proclamation about Jesus Christ, according to the revelation of the mystery. Oh, wait, hope y'all don't mind Holman Christian Standard for now. Mystery kept silent for long ages, but now revealed and made known through the prophetic scriptures, according to the command of the eternal God to advance the obedience of faith among all nations. Okay, so we have the power to establish according to the gospel and preaching of Jesus Christ, according to the revelation, which was kept secret since the world began, but it's now made manifest by the scriptures of the prophets, according to the commandments of everlasting God made known to all nations. Okay, so that's what we have right there. Now, what's he saying we go to? Next. Oh, yeah. Wait, am I on 15? Yeah, I'm on 16. Yeah. So, and then Ephesians chapter 3, verses 1 through 6. So comparing what we just read there to Ephesians chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, which says, "For this cause, I, Paul, the prisoner of Jesus Christ for you Gentiles, if you have heard of the dispensation of the grace of God, which is given me to you word, how that by revelation he be made known unto the mystery, as I wrote afore in few words, whereby when ye read, ye may understand my knowledge in the mystery of Christ, which in other ages was not made known unto sons of men, as it is now revealed unto this holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit, that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs of the same body and partakers of his promise in Christ by the gospel." Okay, so if I'm trying to understand the question correctly, what he's asking is, how can they be reconciled? To me, I'm seeing the same thing when I read it. Is that, you have that God has hidden these things from people, but then reveals them gradually. And as we see, he says he reveals them through the apostles and the prophets. We see that all the way in the Old and the New Testament. This is something that's very clear. And he does that by the Spirit of God, by the pneuma of God. So I'm trying. I don't think there's really much. I don't think there was an irreconciliation to begin with. I think it's pretty much clear right there that there was a reconciliation. Okay, Bryson's saying that Paul says the mystery was not revealed in Ephesians, and then says it was revealed. No, with the whole thing in Ephesians is that he's saying that there was a time it wasn't. Even Romans just said that there was a time it was withheld, that it wasn't revealed. But then it is revealed later on, and it's through the prophets and the apostles, which is the same thing we read in Ephesians. So yeah. So that's why I think there's the reconciliation right there. I don't think there's really much to diverge more on. Oh, okay. I see John Mack is asking for a link to the Hangout, because I forgot. He said he wanted to join, and then now I'm being, like I said, I'm being a terrible host, and I am messing up big time. I cannot do this. I cannot. I'm very much under pressure right now. And apparently Wolf says that my voice is relaxing for some reason. Well, that's because it is very relaxing. It's very soothing. In fact, I can just talk deep and mellow and calm like this, and it will even get Christian Man to admit something for me. Christian Man.
You have a better voice than me?
Thank you. See what happened there? No, but in all seriousness, yeah, that was. Just, I don't know what's up with my voice at times. I've been told I needed to go into radio for quite a few while, and I guess the theological discussion and this are my methods of doing so. Okay, so let's see here. I'm seeing there are people that are wanting to join the call. Because I've seen we had a Scarlet Gordella that had been trying to get in, but apparently has left. Hang on a second. I'm taking my pills right now. What the heck is ASMR?
Oh boy.
Because I've been just told by Galactic Genesis, CA should do ASMR. What's oh boy?
Are you sure you want to know what that is?
Audio. Oh, okay. Mega Mac just already filled me in on it. It's basically audio porn.
Basically.
Galactic, I will travel to your house with my 1611 King James Bible, and I will Bible thump you till the next generation. And trust me, it'll be a lot weirder than this one. Oh my goodness.
Oh,
I will not be participating in audio porn if that is the case. I'll just have to look up, because apparently he's saying it's not. I'm at the moment kind of taking their word for it.
Well, I mean, it's not exactly that. Like, there's like non-bad versions of it, but usually that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, if anything, if I can just simply do something like an audio only version of like a Bob Ross, that would probably be the only thing I would go to. Like, okay, now happy campers, we're gonna paint some nice trees here, just some happy nice trees. But however, what you don't want to do is eat these paints. You're gonna have to trust me on this one as we carry on our day. All right, so yeah. Oh my goodness, people! I'm trying to answer everything one person wants in. I've already got Mega Mac in here, by the way, the Presby who sup. I'm the what would you call a full-on immersion Baptist? He is a pedo Baptist. He believes that you can baptize infants. At least that's to my knowledge. When I last
can and should baptize the children of believers.
And that's where we're gonna throw down, isn't that right, Presby?
I mean, if you want to, I don't want to embarrass you on your own show, though. So
this is why I love you, man. This is why I love you.
I mean, we would talk forever, man.
I know it's been a while. How have you been?
I've been good. I've my spiritual life's been going pretty good since I started watching Naruto. So yeah.
Since you've been watching Naruto,
dude. Yeah, bro. It's changed my spiritual life.
How
Good luck
so?
with the filler.
Well, I believe that I've been called to be the next Hokage. So.
Oh, for the love of God!
I'm just kidding.
Well, you're gonna have to wait in line. Naruto already got that dream come true, and that took what, like a ton of seasons and 2 different shows.
Yeah, true. Well, you see, actually, in the Reformed world, R.C. Sproul was Hokage, and he recently passed away. So now the office is open.
Oh, like I'm now thinking of it. It's, if someone is watching this and has the ability to do so, Photoshop the Hokage wear on R.C. Sproul. That will be hilarious, and I will put that on the next Ask Christian Anarchist if somebody can do that.
Yeah.
All right. So, welcome to the show, Mega Mac. I feel that because of your presence, we've just, because Christian 96 says here's infant baptism and his Lutheran senses are tingling.
Oh, ew, Lutheranism. I mean, oh man, I love y'all. Lutherans are great. They're not closet papists at all.
Yeah. All right. Oh, we're definitely gonna get somewhere. What happens when you put a Lutheran a Southern Baptist and a Presbyterian in a room together?
World War III?
Pretty much.
No, as long as you don't let any papists in, we'll be fine.
Yeah, as long as we do that, we'll be fine.
Because I'm that classical Presbyterian that says the Pope is Antichrist. So
yeah, I forgot about those guys. Man, y'all
good
are
old
kind
fashioned.
of y'all are kind of a rare version that's out there.
We're the OGs. Anyway.
This is gonna be an interesting and fun night tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Almost kind of went discrimination there and left the fellas out. Wouldn't be the first time. Anyways, so let's okay, Brian Stevens, because I see you kept trying to message me, and again, good thing you keep doing this because there are some people that don't repeat their questions. Message me on Hangouts, and I'll get you the link, or message me on Skype. That way I can check your deal because I have seen you around before on the whole thing. And I see Christian Man's actually tried to look back on that dress, by the way. So thanks a lot for that. Anyways, so
see.
Yes.
So what do you think about Ronald Deal's post in a live chat? He says Baptists go all the way back to John the Baptist, hence the name John the Baptist. What's your take on that?
Ronald Deal. Let me first of all just take a look at what everything he says because I am skeptical of people that don't have a profile picture. Every Pope Antichrist will roast in fiery hell. Save with fear, pulling them out of fire. Because I know he's been around a little bit. Your soul will be eaten by worms, a literal burning hell. I think with what he says that Baptists go all the way back to John the Baptist, hence John the Baptist is actually a false. And I can say this as a Baptist. Because concerning what a Baptist is, they have their roots sort of later on. I forget where the line starts.
Well, if you want to trace your line back to the Anabaptist, the 1500s, if you want to trace it back to the particular Baptists, the 1640s.
Right. So we kind of got somewhere around there within sort of an origins there. So for the sake, let's just start with Anabaptist. Let's go with there.
Are you sure? They didn't believe in the authority of Scripture and believed in continual revelation. So you shouldn't go back to them.
True. Then particular. I was almost thinking of primitive Baptists for a second, which I've always said primitive Baptists or theological Nazis, based on what I've had experience with. So I guess let's go particular then. So yeah, particular Baptists. Let's just start there. Then give it that time, and that's kind of where we have an origin, and that which gets also we see the evolution and branching out of the various different Baptist denominations. So Baptists don't go all the way back to John the Baptist. He was just called John the Baptist because he baptized people, and Presbyterians baptize, Lutherans baptize, all these other different denominations that are sound in doctrine baptized. There's just sometimes difference in the debate about modes of baptism or who is able to be baptized. That's kind of where you have the differentiation. Well, why he was called John the Baptist. So John the Baptist wasn't called that because of what we are today as Baptists. So yeah, I think Ronald was thinking too much in that, or if he needs to provide a source that actually defends this particular statement. Because I've met Baptists and they haven't said anything like that.
Okay, so you haven't many of the good old fashioned traditionalists with the Trail of Blood. Have you ever heard of that?
The Trail of Blood.
So some independent fundamental Baptists believe that they can trace Baptist lineage all the way back to the apostles, but they point to the Montanists and all these different heretical groups to do it. It's really funny because it's just so bad.
Yeah, that's why I always discourage people from going to an independent fundamentalist Baptist church, because they can make whatever traditions they want, and it's like fair game to do whatever they want. So it's kind of scary in all honesty.
Mhm. Let me ask you this question on a church government issue.
Mm-hmm.
So you're Southern Baptist, so you have a similar form of government to end up a fundamental Baptist, because you have Baptist churches are autonomous. They don't have any courts above them to
We kind of do actually. We go to we have the Southern Baptist Convention.
right. But does that the convention is a co-op to achieve certain goals? It doesn't actually lay out or define doctrine in the same way a Presbyterian General Assembly would. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it would actually. In fact, if you remember the Baptist Faith and Message that was composed in the year of 2000, that was gathered by the congregations at the Southern Baptist Convention, they laid out the Confession of Faith, and it formed the doctrinal statement of agreement upon what the Southern Baptists would stand for, and what are the scriptures that can back up their beliefs.
But can they enforce that?
Well, as far as an enforcing, they say it's something that should be held to a tradition, but forget where exactly it says in the introductory part to the issue. But you can check it out on the Southern Baptist Convention website. That while all these things should be held as a form of authority for Christians, like many things in the promise for the Reformation and the practice and the tradition of a Reformation, if there is anything that we do find that is unbiblical in these documents, then we should go to Scripture versus simply the confession, which is why when they do make these, they do their best to cite all of the scriptural verses to support it. But it's also at the same time, we see the same thing that was being done with the Catholics back then, and we found problems with them, obviously. So if there does happen to be a problem with something, and we can find the scripture that refutes what's made in there, then we can go to it and appeal to scripture versus simply the confession that was drawn upon by man.
Right. So Southern Baptists make a confession of faith, 2000 Baptist Faith and Message. But how does the convention actually have power to enforce that on a local congregation?
What is, and these are like saying that these are the doctrines that we believe.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah, it's part of the whole thing. In fact, we have the Declaration of Faith that's hung upon our wall, and then if anyone's familiar with that, the Declaration of Faith is very much identified with the Southern Baptist Faith and Message. Especially if you pick up a copy of a Baptist manual, which contains both of those. That's basically a Southern Baptist church, and I even looked up, and mine is part of that. And we're very familiar with the doctrines that are laid upon in the Baptist Faith and Message.
So say you had a Southern Baptist church, and they said, we like the confession, but we take exception to the chapter on sexuality. What
Right.
power would the convention have to actually do discipline to that congregation?
They would basically just dissociate or revoke them of being in the Southern Baptist Church, and they would take action. As in when getting some of the church members from other congregations or someone else to investigate into it, and if they find out that they're affirming this, and the other church disagrees, the other churches, especially if the council disagrees, then they have a right to say they're not part of this church. And that's why if they want to then join a church that does follow these things, then they can do so. Regards to baptism, regards to women elders, if there's something that they disagree on but another church agrees on, then that's where, if they want to then find something that they can find a support in for a denominational group, they can go elsewhere. But if they find out that they're in a disagreement on something, and the council, the higher up, wants to revoke that of them, then they have the right to do so, because they realize that they claimed to be Southern Baptists, which would include holding to the confession, especially on what is allowed in the pulpit and what the church itself affirms. And if they say, well, we take exception to this, then that's making a problem. But at the same time, when I said what the issue was about the disagreements, was only for in relation to how the individual operates, not as the whole, as trying to operate in representation as a church. If you're certainly representing the church and you're preaching in the pulpit, you definitely have to make sure you're keeping in line with what the tradition has been for that particular confession or catechism that your church adheres to. Otherwise, then why do you identify as the specific denomination in the first place at that church?
So when it boils down to it, the only actual authority the convention has is to simply disassociate, right?
Basically, to remove the title and the license that they have of being a Southern, like for example, a Southern Baptist church, and they would therefore be just simply a non-denominational, or if they want to try to just make it their own, an independent fundamentalist Baptist church.
So at the end of the day, there's no real discipline because the church remains the exact same way it was before. Nothing changes in that congregation.
Right, nothing can change the congregation, and I guarantee you there's always going to be people that will have crazy false ideas. I mean, look at the Westboro Baptist Church, for example. The churches and the teachings will exist. They will just be considered anathema from these other groups, which this then can help out with mission fields. They can help out and contribute to the rest of how the government of the Southern Baptist Convention can operate.
Right, but it's like within the Presbyterian system, if there is a minister in a congregation teaching, say, against the deity of Christ,
right,
the higher courts have the ability to get rid of them, take away his ordination.
Right, I think there's actually been cases where the pastor has been revoked of being a pastor at that church. I know that there's been cases where that's happened, and it's because not just that because their disagreement with the sound doctrine is about the deity of Christ.
Right, but that wouldn't have been by the convention. That would have been by the local session, by the local elder board or deacon board, because some Baptists are that way. So, right. Does the convention actually have the power to revoke ordination vows? No, it only has the power to just
because it leaves it, like Republicans, it leaves everything into the hands of the local government. So the local church has their right, therefore, to kick out the pastor and such.
Right, but where do you see the authority in? Where do you see this idea of the autonomy of the local church in Scripture?
Concerning that, I don't see that within Scripture. It's just simply the history of the apostolic church ages in the beginning. That you had a local congregation, and that each of them had various bishops, and that they operated on their own locally. But if things got way too out of hand, then concerning certain issues, if they couldn't resolve them with just simply the deacon or the pastor, then they could then go to these others. Churches, these other congregations in Rome, and invite them in, and then hold what you would have as a sort of synod or then eventually a council.
Right. So I agree with that. But what happened with synods and councils was binding upon all of the churches once it was decided.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we don't see disassociation of churches in the early church. We see ministers being removed and ordination being revoked. But what I see in the SBC is just, your congregation is no longer a part of us. Just go away. There's no intervention in that congregation in fixing things. It's just go away, be gone. So, is the SBC the biblical model?
So is the SBC the biblical model?
Yes.
I mean, I think that the SBC is just one form, one branch,
Okay.
and I think there's others that can hold to the same. They can be consistent. I think Presbyterians, for example, they are just as Christian as the SBC, and though they have probably some slight difference in church government, I think that they both can still handle it biblically and on both their parts. Just like I think the same thing can be said of the baptism approaches.
Right, but I think we both agree that the SBC and the Presbyterians are both Christians, brothers, and believing the same gospel. When it comes down to who's right on the issue of church polity, which one do you think is the better system? More biblical system.
Right. Well, like I said, I'm just going to say that, I think what the SBC does is biblical, and I think what the Presbyterian Church and some of the other ones does is biblical. I don't think that one is more biblical than the other. At least not. I can't even make that judgment myself since I haven't studied specifically church government as an issue or a topic for a detail. I've only seen a few things concerning the pastoral epistles, such as women not being in the pastoral roles, and only men, and make sure not to forsake the gathering. That's pretty much so far it in terms of the connection, as well as, of course, being on a Sunday for the Lord's Day. But haven't gotten too much deeper into that if you're asking for, full-on knowledge on this topic. So I'm just saying that what I've seen so far is pretty much what we get.
Okay.
And by the way, I just want to point out that for those who have remembered this individual, especially from Steve McRae and Skylar Fiction's channel, ladies and gentlemen, the Hyper Calvinist is back, and apparently said that what he had listened to was me and Jonathan, apparently 2 Roman Catholics in action. So, ladies and gentlemen, the ignorance of Hyper Calvinist, who claims that anyone who is not a primitive Baptist or a Hyper Calvinist is automatically either an Arminian or a Roman Catholic Jesuit.
Ta-da!
It's funny that he called the Westboro Baptist Church an Arminian church because he said that in the YouTube side chat. But they're actually like Hyper Calvinists.
Yeah, that's what I found interesting. They say that
all else fails, throw the opposition on your side. Throw the dirty dirt on the opposition.
Yeah, I'll send you after this hangout, John, the conversation I had with him once. He's a mess. He really does not know where he's at in doctrine. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, he said primitive Baptists are Arminians. Interesting.
If that's the case, he has really changed his position at this point, because I know
ta-da!
He has done this where he's changed accounts like 3 or 4 times, and he's constantly changing his doctrine.
Well, I want to ask, who isn't an Arminian in his view?
All must be Arminians.
Pretty much,
my brethren.
Pretty much anyone who isn't around the time period of Tobias Crisp and John Gill that self-identify as Hyper Calvinists. He even has, he does say that he believes Martin Luther is not an Arminian, but I think he said that John Calvin was an Arminian. I think he has said that pretty much any reformer or anyone that claimed to be Calvinistic, like R.C. Sproul, was a papist, Arminian Catholic or something like that, because I know he's very crazy. And you say one account only, but I know this is not your first account, Hyper Calvinist.
Well, it's funny because John Gill really wasn't a Hyper Calvinist. He was a high Calvinist, but he wasn't a Hyper Calvinist.
I've told him that, but he refuses to listen to facts.
I mean, he believed in the he believed in the gospel being preached to everybody. So
yeah,
I don't know how he's a Hyper Calvinist,
which is something Hyper Calvinists reject.
I mean, I think if Gill was consistent, he'd be a Hyper Calvinist, but he wasn't. So.
Oh my goodness! Now he changes his mind again. Now he is saying Martin Luther was an Arminian. Where's Christian 96, our Lutheran, when you need him?
Can you give an example of somebody who's not an Arminian, Hyper?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and say 2 examples he's told me is John Gill and Tobias Crisp. So unless he can provide anything besides those 2 that he keeps repeating to me, then yeah, that'll be fine. Okay, so let me just go past all of these comments from him so I can get to somebody. And by the way, I haven't seen any let me check the invites, because no, I haven't seen anything from Brian. Darn you, Brian. You've been needing to talk to you, man. All right, anyways, let's see what we got in questions. Religious Fanboy asks, have you seen the anime Recovery of an MMO Junkie? No, I have not.
I have.
Question. Should I be worried about that?
Not really. I mean, it's a comedy series, and some people relate to it, so it's not that bad. I've only seen like the first 2 episodes.
Right on. I just don't want to, get. Let's say this. I'm just not a fan of the perverted stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I know, me either, but it's not. It could have been a lot worse.
Like worse is I'm talking the perversion scale of a D&D or D&D school or whatever you call it, DxD, however you say the name, high school. All right, I guess that one got.
How dare you make fun of my tabletop RPG?
Wait, what?
You said D&D.
Oh, I'm trying to remember how it's called. I believe it's DxD now that I'm thinking.
DxD, high school zombie something.
I don't recall zombie being in the name of it, but hey, whatever floats your boat. Okay, let me see here. Let me go to because I see we got 11 people watching, but so far the only one I've seen that's been spamming the message boards has been Hyper Calvinist. Let's see.
Oh,
huh? What?
Mindblade has a question. Scroll down.
Oh, okay. Let me go there. There we go. So, CA, why aren't you Are you Mindblade?
No, actually, I'm not. But I kind of wanted to meet this guy.
Well, where do you go?
Wait. Hey, Mindblade, are you a Lutheran or Presby or a?
Yeah, answer that question while I answer your question, Mindblade. I'm not a Paedo-Baptist just because I feel convinced so far from Scripture as well as how I've seen the tradition go in full-on. Okay, he's Reformed Anglican.
Okay.
I believe in full immersion baptism because that's how some of the people were baptized. I haven't seen any instances where babies were baptized within the New Testament. But while that seems to be my thing, I do sort of sympathize and understand where R.C. Sproul came from whenever he made a case about baptism, in which it mentions the covenants. It's basically like circumcision for the New Testament church. You don't have to get a cutting of your foreskin to now be a member of a group. You just be washed. And back then, infants.
Hi guys.
Hey Simone.
Hi.
Hey. So back then, infants were circumcised. They had their foreskin cut, but now you don't have to do that. And if you do it the way with the Presbyterians and the others have mentioned it, you basically just either sprinkle or I don't know how y'all do it over at y'all's church.
Or dunk them.
You dunk them?
Well, Sproul said he thinks immersion is the preferred method even for infants.
So that's the one thing, because I've seen some churches, just like quickly dip them and dump them. So like at Gels Church, how does that method work? Like, well, how do y'all do it? Are you there?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've only recently joined my local Orthodox Presbyterian church, but I think we pour.
Okay, so y'all pour. Okay.
But I mean, personally, I don't think the mode's that big of a deal. I mean, I'm down with immersion, sprinkling, pouring, hosing, sifting, misting.
Yeah, just make sure if you're gonna dip, make sure you hold the child's nose so the water doesn't get in, and do not keep them in there longer than 1 or 2 seconds. Okay.
Yeah. Have you seen that video of the Greek Orthodox priest?
My goodness, are those people trying to kill the children?
I love that video so much.
It's like, it's pretty much just, if y'all haven't seen the video, it's most ridiculous. It's basically a priest who holds the child and dips like the arm, the leg, and all these other parts, and he's just like tossing him in there like he's on a bungee cord. I'm like,
What?
I'm like, holy crap! Are you trying to kill this person? Some of the babies cry, but some of the babies laugh because like, hey.
One just had this like face of absolute terror. His eyes were so big and bright. He was really cute, but it was really sad.
I would have been too. I've been like, Mommy, Daddy, what did you get me into?
If someone were to throw my baby, I'd tackle them to the ground.
That's why when they do these are Greek. These are usually somewhere of Eastern Orthodox, and these are usually done somewhere in another country. So that probably explains a little bit.
I'll link it in the side chat.
So hopefully Alexia will be joining. She said she posted this 55 seconds ago. So yay! Wait, what the? I don't know why, but Sister Hipster has said on Twitter, "I'm the ugly redhead stepchild." No, you ain't, girl. Do not lie to yourself.
All right. If anyone want to see it, I posted it in the side chat.
Wait. Okay. So Hyper Calvinist is saying he's a particular Baptist. So that's
so. How do you define particular Baptist? Because last time I checked, Spurgeon was a particular Baptist. Muller was a particular Baptist. I mean,
and they weren't Hyper Calvinists.
In fact, the Westminster is is more higher Calvinism than the 1689, because 1689 actually takes out sections on predestination that the Westminster had in there about the Westminster talked about the reprobation of the reprobate, but the 1689 edited that part out. So the people who drafted the 1689 didn't believe a double predestination.
Sister Hipster just commented on the live chat saying, I guess it's about the tweet I mentioned from her saying that I'm not good at reading the lines. Sister, I'm not good at reading, period. I need help, and that's why Christian Man is my tutor. Isn't that right?
Huh?
Yes, it's true.
Dude, I stink at speaking.
Oh my goodness, we are losing everybody here. But yes, so okay, I'm just gonna say this to you. What he's can you read the live chat, or do you want me to?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I read it. He said the 17th and 18th century Protestant nonconformists, particular Baptists.
Yeah, Samuel Richardson. London. Yeah.
Okay.
But before you continue, because we do only have about 30 minutes left on the show, and I want to get as much questions as possible. We got Simone in here, and then I want to see if I can get as much questions from the live chat, because I haven't been answering as much on there. So, Simone, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful, girl. Doing just good.
Well, I'm back in school, and it's kicking my butt.
When does it not kick our butts?
Exactly. Oh man, I remember school. I remember college. It was terrible.
Well, I'm taking online courses.
That's good. That's good right there.
It's kicking my butt, but I love it though. It's pretty cool.
Oh, good. Make sure to stay strong in there. So, how can I help you, see?
Let me think. I'm trying to think of a question.
Oh, for goodness sake, sister.
I'm trying to think.
No. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Sister Hipster. She's saying, "Let me in." She's like,
oh.
She's like that the crazy stalker that's going about saying, "Let me in." Though I don't think she would be my stalker, because I'm not attractive at all.
She'll huff and then she'll puff and blow that link down.
My goodness. Yeah.
And you're not ugly.
Oh, who are you kidding? I am the definition of ugly. You look in a dictionary, there's a picture of me right there.
Hey, well, I'm gonna skirt, guys. I'll see you later.
All right. See you later, man. Hey, keep up in touch with me.
I will try.
Bye.
And shalom, my friend. Thank you for dropping by, man. It was very good to see him. We haven't talked, I think, in about a year.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yep. Good old Megan Mac. That's the best part about our relationship is sort of a almost kind of love-hate thing, is because he's like, so when are you gonna convert to pedo baptism and baptize children? And I'm like, oh, whenever pigs start to fly. So we have that kind of relationship going on. So while you're thinking of a question, I'm gonna check and see if anyone's got something going. Again, if y'all got a question, y'all have 30 minutes left before we decide to wrap things up. So y'all got one, send one in.
I'm so hungry right now.
Aren't we all? I'm so hungry that I could eat Christian man and commit the sin of cannibalism.
Ew.
I wouldn't taste that good.
I am desperate right now. And I'm not eating it.
You're not eating me. I got my sword on my back and I will fight you off.
I have a Bible and I will show you the meaning of a Bible thumper.
I'm waiting on my
I got the sword of the spirit. What do you got?
I got the sword of the spirit too, which is founded in the word of God. So let's see whose sword wins.
I'll get my ESV.
And I'll get my King James.
Dang it!
We'll throw
Don't make
down.
me use my wrench.
Uh-oh. Watch out, ladies and gentlemen. She's got ranch.
Ranch dressing?
No, I'm Winry right now.
Oh, God. Al, run.
Hmm?
I said run, Al.
Edward.
Well, I'll be sure
crap.
to
Hey! Sorry, I don't sound like Vic Mignogna. I'm coming down with a sore throat today.
I'll be sure to eat a lot of vegetables so it tastes terrible for you.
You didn't drink your milk.
How dare you call me small?
Almost sounded there. Anyways,
How
speaking of
dare
which, welcome, sister.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. Don't take it literally what I just said on Twitter.
I'm just gonna let you know this right at the beginning. Because of my autism, I sometimes will take things literal sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just a thing I'm having problem trying to understand what certain things are. I just learned today a new text phrase.
Hmm.
As far as I know. AFAIK. I just learned that today.
Okay.
And people looked at me like, oh.
I think.
Yeah. And people looked at me like, oh, you didn't know that? I'm like, yeah, you're the first person I've ever heard say that. So
I didn't know.
well,
I didn't know SMH meant so much head shake, and it's been around for maybe over a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, anyways, Simone, have you come up with your question yet?
Gosh. Okay, have you guys ever created a prayer room?
Like I know what you're talking about. Because I remember you actually talked about this once on Discord. You're talking about in the concept of that movie, the War Room, right?
Right.
I've done it once actually. It was my closet. I didn't really move much. I just kind of moved my amp right in front of my dresser, and it would serve like a sort of like a stool for me to place my hands on and pray. But really, that was pretty much it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I pretty much treat my closet as my prayer room, and I just kind of like, take time to do a starting prayer, and then just kind of start taking some time praying in detail for any individual that I've met, and pray for their families, pray for them, and then do the general prayer, pray for everybody, because we should.
Well,
Just your
nice.
closet? Really? Come on. I had a better prayer room than that.
Oh, Miss Fancy, since we're
well,
since
it
we're
could be-
since
it
we're
could be
bragging
any
about our
closet.
prayer rooms, what's your prayer room like?
When I was around 9 years old, I made this giant pillow fort out of couch cushions and body pillows, not from anime, and a whole bunch of them. It's like a castle. And I stacked them all up, put bed sheets over them, and made a huge prayer room. I also played in there for a little bit, but mostly prayer and stuff like that. Let myself think about things.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I'm a little jealous about that. That is
I knew
good.
you would be.
You good. You good. I'll admit that's pretty awesome. Better than just simply the closet.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really have to be the closet, but
Yeah.
I just
But-
love the idea.
But still, it wasn't just simply a prayer room for her. It was a prayer castle. So yeah, good. Hats off to you, AJ. You won this. You won this round.
I just remembered something. One time I wrote little letters to God because I thought I could physically give them to him. I wrote a whole bunch of things down, like, today I learned something, and could you answer a question for me, or something like that. I was a little kid. So I put them in envelopes that I made out of construction paper very badly, and tried throwing them up to the ceiling so he could catch them.
Aw,
Oh my god.
that's so cute.
I was like 6 years old when I did that.
Aw.
I remember I had some. I think I actually tried something similar to that. But instead it was kind of like I would leave them and hope someone would. I think I tried telling my mom or my dad to get them to God or something, like, because somehow they knew how to do it. And it wasn't something they did. I'm like just coming up with this stuff. So it's like all this imagination that's going on. And I think at one point though, it did kind of get crazy. That I thought that if I, the whole thing of in God, all things are possible, or I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. I literally kind of took that phrase, prayed to God for superhuman strength, and then tried to break a brick with my fist.
Oh!
Needless to say, I was crying for mommy to get the Band-Aids.
Oh no.
That's a common thing, though. I've tried to break stuff even without asking God for strength. I would just try to break stuff to see if I could do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we're kids at that point. We're trying to explore all the possibilities,
Well,
I remember when I was little. I think
with mine, I took everything out of my closet, like everything, and I turned it into a prayer room.
Well, I mean, it's a good thing to have a prayer room for sure. I mean, if you definitely want to have one, because I know a lot of people, that definitely take that verse where it says, "But go into your room or your closet to pray instead of just being out in the streets where people could see and only have the Father God as the audience."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on a second. There's this guy apparently now trying to get my attention. Ronald Deal. I'm literally trying to decide whether or not if this is a troll or not. If Baptists go back to Catholics, are you saying Catholics were Christians to be? Jesus, man.
Mhm.
Did I ever say that? No, I did not. I had never said that Baptists go back to Catholics. What we were talking about were Anabaptists or particular Baptists. I'm going particular Baptists because, as far as I'm aware, those are the people that affirm that the scripture is the word of God, and that they're different compared to the tendencies of the Anabaptists that had some crazy doctrines along with them. Then you have the particular Baptists. So that's kind of where we have the starting point. I never said that they went to Catholics. So I don't know where this idea if because you get that, because I know this is a question you kept asking, and now apparently it's going back to me on this. So I've never said that they were Catholics. Okay. That being said, let's see here. By the way, thank you for your question, Simone.
No problem.
Ronald, I just said where I believe they originate from, so I'm not going to repeat myself. Just one more time, it's going to be either the Anabaptists or the particular Baptists. That's what I'm leaving it off at. You're not satisfied with that, then you can do further research from there on. But that's what you're getting out of me. So let's see here. Oh, for goodness sake! I was right. That Mind Blade guy that was in the live chat earlier, he's just confessed it was Mega Mac this entire time. Oh, he's a sneaky one. He's a sneaky one.
Black.
He was able to be two people at one time. I'll give you kudos to that. All right, so let's see here. I'm laughing at all the comments from Hyper Calvinist. He just basically said independent fundamentalist Baptist is a Reformed Catholic. Just anytime you just find someone that disagrees with you, just call them a Catholic. That solves all your problems, doesn't it? All right, so we got
like calling everybody Nazi, just like calling everybody Nazi.
Yeah, if it helps solve the problem, then do it, I guess.
Everyone I don't like is Catholic. Online guide to theological discussions.
Which, by the way, CA.
Yes. What is it?
I don't know if you've seen my link to Twitter or not. I was wondering if you were looking at it or listened to it. Chuck Huber had a problem.
Oh yeah. I haven't got a chance to look at that because I was at work when you sent that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But what happened?
I mean, he's been struggling with divorce. He finally got divorced. And he's been trying to get his children to get to see his children for 4 years because the mom won't let them see him. And from what I've heard too, is that a lot of his family believes that he's going to hell for what he does.
For what? Voice acting?
Yeah, doing voice acting and all that stuff.
What?
Give me a second.
Yeah,
Hold on. Silence, everybody. Give me a second. Ay.
But the priest
my earbuds back in.
But the priest wouldn't help him. That's what blows my mind. Because of these strict legalistic doctrines that he can't see his kids just because he does what he does. That's just insane.
What does he voice act for?
Android 17 in Dragon Ball Z. He played the Shao Tucker in Full Metal Alchemist.
He's played a lot. He's one of the big voices of Funimation.
Yeah, and he plays a bunch of other stuff. I'm just not.
I'll get some. Here's some notable ones. Along with Android, he was Pilaf.
Yeah, and Garlic Jr.
I did not know that. Well, that explains a lot.
He played Garlic too.
That explains a lot. Has anyone seen Soul Eater? He was Stein, Dr. Frank N. Stein.
That guy. Now I remember.
Oh.
And what's it? Hiei?
Yeah, that's his first role.
Yeah, Hiei from Yu Yu Hakusho. So let's see what else was
So he's
he?
technically being punished for having talent.
Somewhat, yeah. They seem like they were super strict. Like he used to be a principal at a Catholic school, so he has.
Yeah.
I think he has a degree in theater.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I
here's
was
the
a
thing.
poor guy. I mean, we lift him up in prayer because that 4 years and you. It's a dad who actually wants to see his kids. That's what bugs me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's sad.
It's the mama that won't let him see him.
Yeah, well, that's people are going to be like that. But if if it's because of what he does,
I
don't see
that's
why
what
that's
it
a
is.
problem. Is it because I remember? Is it
But
the
he's
wife that's
also,
doing this?
Yeah, and I think the thing about it was the church had a problem with him having a girlfriend because he was separated at first and the divorce wasn't finalized. So I
Yep,
don't.
that would be a problem for some people because they would say technically you're still married and are committing adultery, and unless you say that you feel sorry for doing the action or something or you repent of it, then I believe part of the catechism is to anathema, which doesn't simply mean spiritual anathema. They mean like cut you out completely of the church.
Yeah, and I mean I don't agree with it myself too. I didn't know that I thought he was divorced already
Right.
divorced, but not being able to see your children, that's not right.
No, it's not, and that's why don't let certain actions just be the final determination of things. There's a guy that I had followed on Twitter in the past, and things are kind of taking a bad start at the moment. But what happened for anyone who wasn't seeing this on Twitter, a while back, I had sent out a prayer request to this one guy named Busky on who was on Twitter, and he was a furry YouTuber that I had only met once and had heard about on Discord. Met him through a friend, and he seemed like a decent guy. So I'm like, okay, help out a bit. And what I found out is he said that he had, or claimed after posting it on Twitter, that he got into a car accident that nearly ended his life. And that he was starting to forget who people were, having bad memories, saying he was going through depression, and that there was a big gash on his head that where his blood was dripping down. So then we found out something that's interesting. I was informed and got the call about it, and even showed why the posts were later deleted. He lied. He made the whole thing up and tried to do it for attention and money. Yeah, the one thing that got it off was a picture he posted that supposedly was him in the ER, which showed he had no gash or no serious injuries, which is something you would expect from the story that he made up, including saying that he had a gash that opened his head up and let blood dripping down his face. So that gave it the first off. Second was his roommate, who immediately did not, when he saw that he was healthy and in the house whenever he made that tweet. Third, eventually his boyfriend had called out on it because apparently he was being dragged into it, being tweeted and messaged. But of course, roommate calls in. So I felt a little betrayed and kind of used up because I felt I was feeding the train of pride and hunger for attention when there was no real danger. And if it would have gone further, he probably would have, as he's been trying to get others, get money from people for it, because he was trying to say, could you help give me some money so I can get back on my feet whenever I'm trying to help pay these bills and whatnot. And we know it's a load of crap. But even after that, and after being deceived like that, when people were saying, don't associate with the guy again, I'm willing to give the guy a second chance. And it's because of forgiveness. That's how I viewed it, because if Christ was able to forgive, I'm going to forgive and give the guy a second chance. But if a pattern keeps showing and he keeps going and keeps going and keeps going, then I'm not going to get involved. I'm not going to put myself through something I know is what's going to happen again. But because he said he's been given plenty of chances before. Who knows? This is something that was definitely detrimental and has happened on social media, that it's no longer behind closed doors. So who knows? Maybe something can happen and a miracle happens.
Okay, I'm confused. What's the point?
My point is that the same way that I could treat it with this person, the same thing should be done at the church for Chuck, if that's how they view it, and if this may also be something the wife would include in it. The same thing. Hold that standard if you're really claiming to be a follower of Christ. Though I wouldn't say that Roman Catholics are Christians. I'd say even then they're claiming to follow him. Follow the principle. Don't stick to just your tradition. Follow what Christ has mentioned, and that is to forgive. So like how I was forgiven, even though I felt, betrayed and there was a bit of a sin going on there, I still forgive the person and give them a second chance. Likewise, somebody in the church and somebody that is the wife, give a chance of a second to Chuck. So that's why. I'm sorry I went on too long, but I felt the context was also important and needed to explain the whole thing.
Oh, give me a second, guys. I'll be right back.
All right, then. By the way, we only have 10 minutes left. So, sister, did you want to count the discussion as your question, or do you have something in mind?
Well, that explains it, because I was hoping you would probably tweet about that back, but I was saying something about I'm not gonna go there. Objective morality.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that in the.
I mean, I don't know. I don't think I worded it right. I don't know.
You just said objective morality.
Yep. I mean, is it universal?
Yeah, that's what objective morality means. That it's a universal and not simply an opinion.
But is it truth?
Yeah, I mean, it is true. It's how we make truth claims for things that are of a very objective standard. Like, we could say this: 1 + 1 = 2. That is true regardless of your opinion of it. That is an objective truth. And that's how we operate on things in a universal sense, not just in the concept of mathematics with looking at an equation on a problem. But if I were to hold one knife and then another knife, I have two knives. If I were to hold up one Bible and then another Bible, I have two Bibles. Why? Because the principle that is objective of truth is that 1 + 1 = 2. So objective morality is true because we were able to make statements such as that's wrong to steal. If it's subjective, it'd be more accurate to say that is my opinion that it is wrong to steal, and I just personally think you shouldn't do it because of personal reasons. But instead, we make the statement it is wrong to steal as if that is a declarative statement that we say that we're not going to compromise and say we're going to say simply that's wrong. So it's objective morality.
Mhm.
It's objective fact. Now there are subjective values. For example, people, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. There are people that may find love in different ways. Some people like blondes, some people like brunettes, some people prefer girls that are nerds, and some people prefer them that are just the cheerleader type.
I got some Chinese food.
Wait, oh, you got Chinese food.
Yay!
Nice. By the way, welcome Cameron Lennox. So
Thanks.
yeah, there's some values that are subjective, but morality itself is objective, and that's what we need to keep in mind. And the way to prove it is to show that, for one, if it's subjective, it is inconsistent. When you ask, why is it wrong then? And you keep asking the questions, just keep going with the questions, and shows that ultimately it can go to an inconsistent standard, of which ultimately they can go back to saying, well, it's what the consensus says. The consensus says that this is wrong. And at that point, if it's decided by that, then as I'm predicting that probably Christian Man was probably going to say, slavery back then was considered on a consensus to be right.
Back then, also eugenics was considered to be right back in the days during,
So yeah, you have these groups. So if we say that that's wrong, by what standard then do we condemn them? Because then that they were doing consensus among just making these laws and making what's right and wrong over there. So ultimately, it's everyone, I believe, still in secret has this idea of objective morality. It's just that for some people, they just don't want to go with that. Because then that means there has to be somewhere that this morality came from, or that as the popular saying goes, where there's a lawgiver, basically. And some people will say objective morality that are atheists, but that can say it's just up to us to figure it out and decode it. But for most people, we know, and we hold to the position that ultimately that objective morality, that law, comes from God. So yeah, I would say objective morality is real.
Okay, because I could see if we don't all agree on the same thing. It just seems like society itself would unravel.
Oh yeah.
Oh Lord.
Well, what's going on?
Oh, my dog is outside howling.
Well, at least it's not howling like a wolf, like in that one movie. What's it called? Zootopia. Yep.
Got some issues.
Well, it's probably looking at one dog. It's like, hey, you got my money? Oh my goodness. Okay, Hyper Calvinist is asking if I can get him into a hangout with the Council of Google Plus.
Oh, sure, buddy.
That'll be hilarious.
Sure, I'll get you in there, my friend.
Oh, what? You're gonna get him in there?
Yep.
All right.
I know exactly the play.
Because pretty much it's this. He's gonna be destroyed. Because if anybody remembers the time that the Council of Google Plus, along with Matt Slick, got to talk with G-Man about the 2 Corinthians 4:4 controversy, that was a show for sure. Because G-Man went from just being ignorant to making up lies and assuming things about people, that it was hilarious as to the train wreck that it fell into.
I gotta see that again.
And then that's why when it was over with, what they did for the thumbnail was put a G-Man and then shows a picture of a drawing of a chalkboard of a guy yelling at a brick wall. That's how
pretty good.
that's how bad.
One by.
That's how bad it was. So yeah, if you can find a way to get with the council, tell him a guy who calls himself Hyper Calvinist 1599 wants to talk with him. And right now he's saying that he's going to destroy the council. No, my friend. On Google Plus, council destroys you.
Really? Destroy them?
Get your butt in here.
And I think, oh my goodness, because if he was really calm compared to the first time I talked to him, and now he's just like very like passive aggressive. Like at one point I said, I am Calvin. He's like, no, you're not. You're a
Like
Pope
Brenda
loving.
on a good day?
You're a Pope loving, papist worshipping, Roman Catholic Jesuit, Illuminati agent. Like he'll just throw any name under the sun, and no matter what you say, he will try to catch you up.
Hyper Calvinist is Goku.
No. This is totally different. There's Calvinist Goku.
Oh wait, he could be Yamcha.
Oh yeah, Hyper Calvinist is totally a Yamcha. He's going to die immediately as he walks in with the council. Oh, you're a Calminian Hyper Calvinist? Okay, we'll go with that. So we got time for one more question, and we got Cameron in here, who I haven't seen. Is another person I haven't seen in a long time.
Yes, I think I haven't actually spoken to you since I moderated that last debate. But yeah,
how are you doing?
Yeah, I guess I could ask a question. What do you think would be the best arguments for? I mean, I'm assuming you're still a Baptist. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
What do you think would be the best arguments for memorialism with regards to the Lord's Supper?
Memorialism? That's a new one for me.
Well, essentially the view that the Lord's Supper doesn't denote any spiritual or physical presence of Christ. It's merely symbolic.
So pretty much like the view of Zwingli.
Yeah, more or less. I think Zwingli, his view is a lot more nuanced than people typically say it was, but yeah, it's definitely Zwinglian.
Well, I don't particularly hold to that. I go with more of Calvin's view, which is that while it's not the flesh and blood physically, there's still a sort of a presence, an element, if you will, of what we have of Christ that's found within the flesh and the blood. So it's sort of like an administration of an edification upon grace that is delivered unto us via the bread and the wine. Or if you're like us and you don't have the material to get that, the bread and the grape juice. So, I believe that God works through these, not by turning them into flesh and blood or to making the elements there, but that the presence is there and it's administering a form of grace via the sacrament of the Lord's Supper.
All right. Yeah, I mean, what I would say to that is, I mean, I historically there hasn't actually been a consistent Baptist view, so your view wouldn't be not accepted within Baptist theology. Memorialism, for one, doesn't entail that grace isn't, discounted as being in the Lord's Supper. It merely entails that that's not necessarily the main purpose of it. But yeah, no, I understand that. I think Calvin's view is defensible in a lot of respects. I think it might be ad hoc in some ways, but yeah, no, I think it's good recognizing it as being a means of grace, though.
That makes sense.
I'll be in the Discord server.
All right. Yeah, because we're about to wrap up here. I just now seeing it's 10:03 p.m. And I'm trying to.
Can you give me a link to that Discord server, by the way?
Yeah, I'll get you the link just because I'm trying to get things set up right now because we got one guy right now, Mr. Hyper Calvinist, is wanting the link to join the Discord. I'm leaving the link right there for him to join. So you can join. That'll be the link to join the Council of Google Plus Discord. So that's how you can discuss the guys if you are planning on being wanting to be on the show with them. So yeah, just click on that link and you'll be able to join their Discord. But for our Discord, if you want to join that, the link is in the description at the very bottom. It says the Discord for Ask CA Questions Off Air. Click the link and join that. And you know what? I might decide to just chill out there for a little bit. I got some time. But until then, this has been a wonderful evening, especially thanks to. Oh wait, hang on a second. I thought I said I was going to do this. And I am going to because it is such an adorable little costume thing. So where is it on my descriptions? There you is. So I'm going to show you what is probably considered one of the world's most, as the Japanese say, kawaii cats or nekos. That is this little fur ball, the Luna Lusterdust. Let me just present to everyone here.
Oh my gosh!
Yep.
Kitty.
Oh my gosh, so cute.
Yeah, that is an awesome cat, and yeah, you can check out Luna Lusterdust here if you want to get more content. Just start it up, and a very great channel. Ow, my nose.
Such a cute kitty.
Indeed, very cute kitty. Well, that's what I wanted to get to. But until then, thank you all for tuning in and hope to see you next Friday. Until then, this has been the Christian Anarchist. Shalom Aleichem. Peace be upon you because I wish that upon you. And have a good night.